Welcome back to Eddie's Launchpads, the Dogsthorpe Infant School podcast for parents, carers, teachers and schools. Dogsthorpe Infant School is part of Hampton Academies Trust. We want every child to dream, believe and shine.
OK, Eddie, start the countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's go.
This podcast is brought to you by EdStar, the Dogsthorpe Infant School Wellbeing Dog.
Now, the love of poetry. We often find at Dogsthorpe Infants that poems inspire our children to write more than stories do. And it's wonderful that we've got a children's poet on the show today. We welcome Sarah Ziman. Thanks for joining us today. Now, you are a children's poet, although you often say, and you say on your website, that you're for children and for the young at heart. Can I ask you, before we get talking about your books and your poems, what inspires you to write and what got you thinking about poetry? Have you always been a poet?
I have actually. My dad used to write poetry when I was a little girl, and he's a published poet for adults, and he did have a children's picture book out long time ago when I was young. But so he'd always encouraged a love of poetry, and I think probably the first poetry book that I remember getting would have been Alan Alberg's "Please, Mrs. Butler," which remains still, just as popular today in schools. Lots of children know "Please, Mrs. Butler" and "The Dog in the Playground," all those kind of poems. So I think I would have been around about 8 when I got a copy of that. I was already a really big fan of his picture books that he created with Janet, Burglar Bill, all that kind of thing. But yeah, this was something new, poetry, and I knew a few poems. I knew some about Christopher Robin, and there was a poem about a boy called Albert who got eaten by a lion. But I found Alan Alberg's was different. These poems were talking about things that I knew. It was about school life, and I recognized, these poems about the dog getting into the playground, or, the fear of finding nits in your hair and telltales. And, I loved those poems. And then when I had my own children and they went to primary school, I realized that although some things were different, like not a lot had really changed about friendship, about teachers, the relationships on the playground, and they started coming home with their stories about school. I joined the PTA, I was a governor for a while, and that's where I started writing poems for children myself.
Incredible. It's interesting, isn't it, that sometimes that we particularly with our infants, that we start off, even before they come to Dogsthorpe Infants, that they know all the well-known nursery rhymes, and then that leads on to poems later on. And we often find that our infants come in and being able to do poems, recite poems, because of those early nursery rhymes.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, early nursery rhymes, there's a reason why children relate to them. That rhythmicness is like a heartbeat, I suppose. And you learn these nursery rhymes and then you go on to poems. Poems are unthreatening. I think poems can be funny. They can talk about your experience. They can be sad. They can make you think. I think collections of poetry are great for children as well, who might be, I don't like to say reluctant readers, but sometimes if you've got a whole novel in front of you, there's all those pages to go, but you can open a poetry book at any page, don't have to start at the beginning. You could flick through, let it fall open, read one poem, and you've achieved something. You finished it. You don't have to read the whole book. So I think they can be really, really good for giving children confidence in reading. And also, like you said, your children often are quite inspired by poems to do their own
Mm.
writing. I found that as well. If I share a poem, children will be talking about their experience. They could write about this. Yes, they've also got a little sister who, has done something funny. My book's called Why Did My Brain Make Me Say It? And it's published with Troika Books. But I actually talk a little bit about in the introduction that I have aphantasia, which that means the inability to create images in your mind.
Right.
Um, and it's become a bit of a talking point recently. I think it's only in recent years that people have realized there's so many different ways that our brains work. So I had no idea when I was a child that people could actually see things in their mind. I thought your mind's eye was just a sort of figure of speech.
Really? Really?
Yeah, yeah. But and some people don't have an inner monologue, whereas
R-
I have a very noisy brain.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fascinating stuff, isn't it? I mean, then when I think about the pictures that my mind creates and the characters that I create in my mind, um, that inspires my imagination. So if you've not got that, Sarah, how do you create?
It's so hard to explain how you think, isn't it? Well, I
Mm,
I think uh, there's quite a lot of dialogue in my poems. I tend to put myself very often into the mind of the child who's speaking. So I think I'm good at dialogue. Um, Obviously, I do see things, so I remember. I have a memory. I'm
mm,
able to
mm,
remember how something made me feel or what I
mm.
thought something looked like and put that into a poem. So I can remember that. I'm just not seeing it as I remember it. I've seen somebody describe aphantasia as being like a computer, so everything is on the hard drive, but the monitor's not plugged in. If that makes
Right.
sense.
Fascinating, listeners. If you have this condition and you want to comment about how you see things and how you create, drop us a line. Let us know. We're always here. We're always online, and it's always good to hear from you. Now, Sarah, let's move on to your wonderful books. Now, I went on your website, and well, there's so much on it, and and as soon as I saw the cover and the things that you were doing on your website and the things you were offering, I thought I've got to get Sarah on the show because you've created some wonderful poems, and you're going to share one with us now.
I'd love to. Yeah. Let's have this one is always popular in schools. This is called Reasons My Little Sister Cried This Week. And I think everyone, whether they've got a little sister, a little brother, a baby cousin maybe, or they've been to a friend's house who's got a little sibling, everybody's got some experience of toddler tantrums, maybe even if you're just remembering your own that your mum and dad laugh about. So, reasons my little sister cried this week. Biscuit broke, could not be mended. Asked to brush her teeth, offended. Wanted blue cup, not the pink. Given blue cup, kicked up stink. Refused to walk, lay down on path. Stopped from drinking bubble bath. Not allowed to pull cat's tail. Not allowed to lick a snail. Not allowed to throw mum's phone. Granny told her that she'd grown. Unable to push down tree. From a distance, saw a bee. Dropped her ice cream. Big disaster. Cross that I can run much faster. Left at preschool. Howled in vain. Picked up later. Same again. Did not want help to do up shoes. Found banana had a bruise. Dolly's socks would not go on. Duck ate bread she'd meant for swan. Jigsaw puzzle proved quite tricky. Toast and honey was too sticky. Kicked her ball at goal and missed. Not happy that I wrote this list.
That Was absolutely fantastic. And I'm sure there's lots of parents and grandparents who've been listening to this, but probably reacting to them. Yeah, I've been there. I've had days like that. So experiential, isn't it? You know, from the bruised banana to the being left at preschool.
Yeah, and I always get children saying, "Oh, my little brother got cross because he wasn't allowed to climb on top of the telly, and my little sister threw a Barbie at my head," and I
Mm,
get lots of examples like that.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Wonderful. That's really, really good. What book is that from? If
so this is from my debut collection. Why did my brain make me say it? So all these poems are by me,
right,
and
wonderful,
it's by Troika Books, the Troika Firsts collection, and
brilliant,
that came
lovely.
out in October last year.
That's wonderful, Sarah. Thank you for sharing that with us. Obviously, we don't want to. It's a bit like playing an album. We don't want to use up all of your material on our podcast because we want people to buy your books. But what other things do you offer for our listeners?
Well, I do school visits. Very happy to head into schools. I do a lot of my school visits through my agency, Authors Abroad. So if you are interested in a school visit with me, you could get in touch with them and they will give you all the details. Um, I'm appearing at Cheltenham Literary Festival this year, which is very exciting.
Yeah,
I'm not I'm not sure if it's been announced yet. I'm not on a panel or anything. I'm actually part of their schools program, but I'm really excited to have been asked to do that. So
right.
really looking forward to that. Last week, I helped judge a primary school poetry slam, which was amazing. So many talented young poets out there. So these groups of children had written their own poems on the theme of counting, which was the National Poetry Day theme this year. So they've written their own poems, they've done choreography and stagecraft that, they'd memorized them. They were up on stage in Wimbledon at the Polka Theatre. And it was so tough. My fellow judges and I, Carl Nova and Joseph Elliott, we had a really tough job choosing because the standard was just amazingly high. So that was something really fun I did recently. I've helped judge poetry competitions in primary schools. So, if there's anything that anybody thinks they'd like my help with, do get in touch because
Yeah.
I'll probably say yes if it's to do with children's poetry. I'll try and make it happen.
Yeah, great. That's wonderful. Thank you. When I did a Google search of you and trying to find you, and I came across your website, there were other resources on there. Is that because you've contributed to other books, or have you written other ones?
Well, I've got another two books which haven't yet been announced, but there will be another book from me coming in 2026 and another one in 2027 that's just me. But yes, I've been in various anthologies, a few for adults as well, but mainly children because it is just more fun writing for kids, and I am a child at heart. So I've got poems in sort of Macmillan anthologies, Oxford University Press. Um, Next one coming up, I think, is a compilation of space poems
Right.
from Macmillan, which is in collaboration with the Greenwich Observatory. So that's quite exciting. I had some poems in Anna Sampson's anthologies Gods and Monsters and Heroes and Villains, which are sort of mythological and legend poems. That was a really good project to be part of because brilliant illustrator Chris Riddell illustrated both of those books. So those were really lovely to be a part of, and I can highly recommend them.
Well, that's brilliant. So, if people want to get "Why Did My Brain Make Me Say This," or other poems, where's the best place for them to go to get them?
Why Did My Brain Make Me Say It is available in all good bookshops, Amazon, Waterstones, you can get it online, your local bookshop, your indie will be able to order it for you if they don't have it on the shelf. if you'd like a signed or dedicated copy, then you can get in touch with me through my website or through social media, and I'm always happy to send out signed copies if need be. But yeah, anywhere you'd usually buy your books, you should be able to find it.
Well, thank you for all you do for the children, and the wonderful poems. I'm guessing that whilst some of the books may be steered, or some of the poems may be steered toward Key Stage 2, the poem that you read, I can see going down very well with all ages.
That's what I found. Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to give it a loose age range just so that um, platforms know how to market it, I suppose. But there is nothing unsuitable in the book for younger children or really early advanced readers. Lots of younger children enjoy being read them with a parent or caregiver. Um, so it's in infants libraries and junior libraries,
Yeah.
and all the way up into year 7 and 8, really, because there's poems in here about leaving year 6 and what comes next, family stuff. Yeah, I don't like to put an age limit on it, really. Anything from sort of 6, 7 up for an independent reader, I think.
Mm. So if people want to get in touch, it's sarahziman.co.uk. That's right, isn't it?
sarahziman.co.uk is my website, yeah.
Mm.
Or I am Bardi Mum on X, Sarah Ziman on Instagram. Uh, oh, I can't remember what I am on Blue Sky, actually.
Well, what
I
we'll do, what we'll do is we'll make sure that all the links are in the text of this podcast, and
Lovely.
and so visitors, if you want to pick up this fantastic book and get wonderful poems like the one we've just heard, Sarah's book is there for you. All you have to do is get on that particular river-based book company, or go and see your favourite book and support your favourite bookshop, and get it, and then you'll be able to enjoy it either in your school or even at home. Sarah, thank you for joining us today. When you get a new book out, if you want to come back onto the Launchpad, me and Eddie are here. We'll always help you to get it around.
You have been listening to the Dogsthorpe Infant School podcast. Join Captain Dave and his co-pilot Eddie EdStar, the well-being dog, on another Launchpad soon. Until then, always remember to be kind, be respectful, and most of all, dream, believe, and shine. Dogsthorpe Infant School is part of Hampton Academies Trust.